The body doesn't need a label to heal.
Julie Alsaker is a holistic genetics specialist, founder of the Luxe Bioanalytics, and the creator of the Genius Method, a groundbreaking approach that integrates genetics, functional blood analysis, nervous system regulation, and emotional healing to unlock extraordinary health. Was that kind of your pivotal moment when you decided that, this is enough?
My heart broke enough because I wasn't able to utilize my voice to heal. And it was the point where I said, I have so much in here and it's time for me to have a voice. She canceled her hip surgery the day before she was going to go under the knife. And within 3 months, with all of these modalities holistically combined, was wild. She's in her 60s and she's line dancing with no hip pain.
That is a really amazing story. I mean, what an outcome.
There's always an answer. The body, I believe, can always heal and always give us an answer when we know the questions to ask.
Hello and welcome to Radical TV. I am Shawna Smith, and joining us here today is Julie Alsaker. Hello, Julie. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Shawna, how are you doing?
Wonderful. Julie, you are a holistic genetics specialist, the founder of Luxe Bioanalytics, and the creator of the Genius Method, a groundbreaking framework that integrates holistic genetics, functional blood analysis, nervous system regulation, and emotional healing to help people achieve extraordinary health. That's what we're all after, isn't it? Extraordinary health. I love what you have said there.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this extraordinary health is specifically beneficial for people that are extraordinary in that they do everything right and it doesn't work for them. They're a little bit extraordinary. They need a little more insight, and that's what genetics brings to them.
So you dive deep into the genetics to find out what we really need. Tell me about that.
Well, I love that genetics is developing constantly. We are always learning new things, and there are some fundamental things that we have already learned, implemented, and seen results. So we know that it works, but it can be something as simple as learning that your body doesn't absorb vitamin D from the sun like your neighbor might, and therefore you might need to supplement with vitamin D. Or it might be that your body doesn't utilize synthetic forms of vitamins, and that in some instances they can be harmful to you. So it's a great way for people to understand that I'm paying a lot of money for this supplement or vitamin, and it's actually making me worse. And so I'm going to shift my finances over to this part of the supplementation bioavailable that will actually help my body heal. And so it's allowing people to not just feel better, it's allowing them to invest in the areas that are actually beneficial for them.
Yeah, because you think, I need this, I need that. And you're taking it and you really have no way of knowing whether or not it's working, right?
Right. And we can do blood tests, and I'm a functional blood analyst. And at the same time, what's in your blood serum doesn't mean that it's in the cell. So you can have, for example, a high vitamin B12 in your blood, and yet you have what's called pernicious anemia, which means that the B12 is not getting into the cell. And that's because you have an MTHFR, 677 variant, or the MTR, COMT. All of these different specific genes impact something called methylation, which I say is the most vital process in the body that no one's ever heard of. So those are the type of things that you can see high B12 in your blood work. You can know that you're taking synthetic B vitamins and you're feeling wired but tired. You go to sleep and you can't fall asleep, but you're exhausted, or you have brain fog during the day, or you have weight that just won't fall off. And you look at those, and then we can gather those clues to go, I bet that you need a bioidentical form of vitamin B. And then all of a sudden, these things that are just part of your stage of life go away.
Wow. These are things I've never even thought of before. Tell us about your Genius Method and how you became to develop that.
Yeah, I am so excited about the Genius Method because I've been doing this obsessively for 30 years, since I was 15 years old, because I used to be very sick. I grew up always, if there was something to catch, I would catch it, right? I didn't have a major disease like cancer or anything like that, but I was sick enough that the doctors told my parents she would just always be sickly, don't expect much, ever. And so we found natural healing, and then when I was 15, and then implemented it, and my life is a testament of it. And so being a person that has benefited from all the different modalities, not just supplements, but learning how to think, learning how to move my body in a way that really heals it, learning how to go out and stand on the grass and bare feet and ground, and seeing the benefit of things that were known for thousands of years, but just don't happen anymore. So that's where the Genius Method came from, which is the idea of holistic isn't just exercise and nutrition, right? It's not just adding therapy, which I love my therapist, right? But it's not just one thing. It's starting to layer all these areas that don't make our life harder, they make our life better. So the Genius Method is grounded awareness. It's knowing what you're actually feeling instead of making excuses. It's embodied biology. It's knowing your genes and your blood work. So when you have a starting point, that's the fastest way to get to the destination, is knowing where you're starting. It is nervous system regulation. It is emotional alchemy, identity reclamation, unburdening the body from the toxins around us, and soul-led integration, where it's not a burden. It is a joy to live this way.
So when someone wants to come and work with you, what is the first step?
Well, the first step is usually to join one of my group programs, because my one-on-one has a waiting list, and I take one-on-one usually through referral, or they can apply to get an interview, a discovery call, to see if we're a good fit. Because I say, the very first question is, do you believe that full healing is possible? Because if the answer is no, you're right. If you don't believe you can heal, you're right. Because our genetics, our epigenetics, expression of the ability to make proteins and make all the things that will heal our body, it starts with our thoughts. And so I do that interview to make sure that you're not wasting your money and I'm not wasting my time. And then we will move forward together on the healing journey. And it's the current one-on-one is a 3-month, very high touch. We're talking every day. My clients get to video message me on my phone. And if they have a question, they are getting really fast answers so that it doesn't take 3 years to heal. We pivot, we finesse, and we build, and it happens really quickly.
Oh, wow. That sounds phenomenal. And I'm sure, belief is everything, isn't it? I mean, and when you get in there and you find the right people to work with, what happens next?
Well, what happens next is I walk them through the Genius Method one-to-one, and they're also always part of the group program. So we have a community, because it gets very difficult in our normal, typical society. If you are the person making changes for your health, even if you're having tremendous results, even if you're looking and feeling better than you have in decades, and everybody can see it, when you're at an event, they're going to say, well, why aren't you eating that? Why aren't you drinking alcohol? And they'll say, because I'm honoring my biology, because with your genes, you're going to know what you can handle and what you can't. And there's a lot of pressure to, well, just have a little bit. Moderation is fine, even though they know their genetics and they know it's not fine for them. So having that community is really important. And that is the process of walking through together until they now become the influencer for people around them. And it happens every time, where when you elevate, right, all boats rise with the tide. That's what happens when a person steps into my world, is they will rise and the people around them rise as well.
Oh, wow. What is the biggest lie that people, your target audience has been told about your industry that you have discovered is completely false, Julie?
Well, that is, I'm trying to think there's so many. Which one to choose?
There's probably a million.
Right. What's interesting, I'll tell you, I used to work as a medical interpreter for 25 years. I was a sign language interpreter in medicine. And the final clinic appointment that was the day I came home and I told my husband I can't go back anymore. Was earlier, it was either that same day or earlier that week. I read a lot of NIH studies as well as others. And I had read an NIH study on a particular supplement. And then I went into the appointment and I was interpreting for a patient that I'd worked with for probably about a decade. Now understand that the ethics and requirements around interpreting is before, during, and after. Your opinion does not exist. So anything happening in my head, it does not come out. I am facilitating smooth communication. So when that patient asked the doctor about the supplement that I had read about, and the doctor said, that won't do anything for you. That's fake. They're just trying to take your money. And I had to walk out of that appointment after that patient got her 13th prescription, lifelong prescription. I had to walk out knowing I just read your team, right? It's your team's study. I read it and you were incorrect. And I wasn't able to have any voice because that it was the code of ethics that I'm bound by as an interpreter. So I simply had to walk away from this patient knowing that she is not going to have the benefit of that supplement. And so there are a lot of bad supplements out there. I teach a class, a master class called the supplement trap, because you can take a whole lot of things and never feel better. But there's a ton, thousands of healing supplements, herbs, vitamins, modalities. And when we find what's right for you, you will feel the difference. They won't be made with synthetic cheap vitamins. So I think the biggest lie would be that supplements are a waste of time and money.
Was that kind of your pivotal moment when you decided that, this is enough of hearing that, MDs say that and knowing that you didn't have a voice? Was that when things turned for you? And
that was really the turning point of, it wasn't so much that I was upset with what she said, because it's how she was trained. So I hold no ill will or judgment, because you teach what you're trained on and what your experience is. And she doesn't have experience with supplements, and that is how she was trained. However, it was the point where my heart broke enough because I wasn't able to utilize my voice to heal, which I had simultaneously been for over 15 years at that point in time, been certified in holistic nutrition. I had already been in school for traditional naturopathy. I had multiple fitness certifications. I mean, holistic was my happy place. Thousands of books. I would read 5 to 6 books a week just because there's so much out there. And it was the point where I said, I have so much in here, and I have benefited all of the people in my circle for 15 years. And it's time for me to have a voice.
Wow, that's powerful. Tell us about one of your clients. Do you want to give us an example of a transformation that one of your clients has gone through that maybe someone else can? I know everybody's different, but what can people look forward to?
Oh, I always say I love my clients, and I'm not even joking, because when I'm on my video calls with them, we always end with, I love you so much. Have a great day. Doesn't start there. That'd be a little awkward, but it's a very intimate relationship that breeds love. And so I'm going, I love them all so much. Which one do I share? I'll start with one, and she's fine with me using her name. Her name is Jean. And Jean is one of my deaf clients. So I'm obviously bilingual because I was an interpreter. And Jean was scheduled for hip replacement surgery. And she had been reaching out to work with me for a long time. And I had said no, because her daughter is a doctor. And I said, there can be a lot of conflict, because I am not anti-medicine. I am as far in the biology and science as you can get, but I'm also about as far in the woo as you can get too. I believe in bringing them both together, and there can be resistance on both sides with that. So I said, I really want to make sure, if we work together, that it is something that your family supports, because if you have conflict because of your healing journey, it can actually slow your healing journey. Conflict is not good for the soul, the mind, or the epigenetic expression. So finally, she was scheduled to have hip replacement surgery. She said, I really want to work with you. And I said, well, you need to understand we'd have to cease the interpreter patient relationship to begin the practitioner client, because that would be a conflict of interest. And she said, yes, I understand. So I took her on as a client. She canceled her hip surgery the day before she was going to go under the knife. And within 3 months, I had her go in for PRP at a local clinic here that does an amazing job. It's the name of the clinic is Rejuve, and they are known in the country as of one of the best that do the plasma-rich platelet injections. She went in and she did that. In addition, we got her supplements dialed in for her biology. We got her food dialed in for her biology, and the speed of her recovery with all of these modalities holistically combined was wild. She's in her 60s and she's line dancing with no hip pain, with arthritis that was severe and needed a full hip replacement. So that's just one of the ways that we believe sometimes that it's too late. I like to say it's never too late until you've tried everything. And you can't actually try everything because there's thousands of things to try. So let's just keep trying till we find the answer, because there's always an answer. The body, I believe, can always heal and always give us an answer when we know the questions to ask. And if we can't find an answer, it's because we either don't have the technology yet or we're not asking the right questions.
That is a really amazing story. I mean, what an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an ideal client that you love to work with? Anything specifically?
Yes. I say that my ideal client, the people talk about avatars for their business, the person they want to market towards. Mine is a person that is heart-led. They are heart-led. They have a purpose in the world, whether that purpose is fixing cars, delivering groceries, or running a company that they want to make millions of dollars. They are passionate, and they know that they can take all that passion in their heart and change the world around them. And a person that believes change is possible, even if at the moment they're looking externally, I can coach them to bring that internally and build healing.
And when you work with someone, you mentioned a 3-month program. Is that typically how long it takes, or what is the average?
Yeah, I've had people with chronic headaches and migraines. I had one specifically that had 17 years of chronic headaches, had debilitating, had gone to over a dozen doctors, the Mayo Clinic, had taken extra strength Excedrin, minimum of 8 tablets every day for 16 years. It took probably 11 months for all the headaches to be completely gone, and he has been off Excedrin now for 9 months. Still, the 3 months is the intense work. My goal is for my clients to never need me again. I want health autonomy. Genius method, grounded awareness is number one. And so if you're able to identify, oh, this feels a little bit off, and I've empowered you with the tools to understand how to respond to your body, then you just do it. It is an education that used to be passed down every generation, how to heal yourself. But our current generation doesn't know how to heal themselves. So my goal is within 3 months to equip you with what you need to heal, and then continue, because I allow people to stay in my community forever. They're part of my family now. Mm-hmm. And so they stay within my group programs. And so you stay near the fire to stay warm. And then they are able to just continue their journey, continue their healing, because the path has been set. And then you have freedom and autonomy. And it's a very empowering situation to not be dependent on medication and not be dependent on needing an expert to tell you every day what to eat. You get to know on your own.
And it seems you have such a wide scope of people that you serve.
I do.
Talk about that.
I have served everybody from professional athletes who had cancer, and we were able to get that into remission, to race car drivers, to stay-at-home moms, to children. I work with children as well. I don't really know that there's a group of people I haven't served.
And really all kinds of ailments. I mean, yes. Every scope, like anything to do with the body is pretty much you can cover.
Head to toe, because I don't diagnose. I am not a medical practitioner. I'm not licensed. I'm a traditional naturopath with certifications in a lot of things, but that I do not do medicine. I do healing. And so I'll be very clear that the body doesn't need a label to heal. The body just needs us to respond to its communication. Can I, with 25 years of experience working in medicine, look at the information and know what the diagnosis would be in medicine? Yes. And every once in a while, I'll say, hey, you should call your doctor and have them check for this. I'm not diagnosing you. I'm not allowed to do that legally, but just have them check, because sometimes for people, having that label gives them a sense of affirmation. I'm not crazy. It's not in my head. And they need that because the people around them require a diagnosis to share compassion with them. I don't need a diagnosis to share compassion with you. I look at what your body is communicating, I respond to it, and then healing happens. We don't need a diagnosis for that. And nothing in the body happens in isolation. That's why head to toe, you don't have a liver problem that's not exemplifying itself with hormone issues. You don't have a headache that's not exemplifying itself with gut issues. Everything is interconnected. So I don't focus in on a small area. I'm not an expert of livers or an expert of brains or an expert of the skeletal system. Just listen to the communication. That's it. I'm a communication expert.
Yeah. I mean, so pretty much anybody that has anything going on that they would like some help with, I mean, you can help anybody.
Yes. And I choose to become an expert in the moment. And how I'll explain that is I'll have intake forms that people will fill out. However, I will not read anything prior to the actual intake appointment. I want a completely blank slate, because I can look at something and my brain can make an assumption. It can connect some dots. And it might be really obvious, but I don't want those dots connected until I speak with a person and I give them the opportunity to be heard, because there's times where people don't know sometimes what's important to be shared. And even the practitioners will skip allowing things to be shared because they think they know what's important. So to come in with this blank slate, and then if it ends up that it is a neurological condition or it's a specific chronic infection, something like Lyme's, I am not an expert. I will still address the body in the holistic, what it's communicating it needs, and we'll bring on another team member. We'll bring in a doctor who is a Lyme's expert. We will bring in someone that is able to give that specificity of that area so that we're not missing any little things that could make a big difference. So I'm not about, I'm the only one that can heal you. I'm all about, let me be part of your team. If you got a team, put me on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this is so fascinating. And, it's just fun to hear your stories and your enthusiasm about what all you're up to. And, when we talked about the lies that people have been told, we've been told a lot of these lies for most of our lives,
Yes, it's very true. And I know that my approach can feel like it would be overwhelming or difficult at first, because my beliefs with nutrition and with really people's capabilities. Some people say, well, I have no time. And I will say, no, you're not making any time, right? A lot of it is mindset reframing and being able to honor and love ourselves. I always say your plate is a reflection of your worth, of your self-worth, because you would not do that if you knew what it was doing to you. And if you do know what it's doing to you and you're still consuming it, that's a worth issue, right? So it can be difficult because people have to confront things that are easier to just not confront. It's easier sitting on the couch, watching Netflix, eating chips. It's easier until it's not. And so you've heard it a million times, choose your hard. Well, people are scared of this choice because it seems overwhelming. It can be if you go it alone. That's why I say don't go it alone. Come join the group. Now you're with a bunch of people that are going to help you reframe your mindset, and then you're going to be excited. You won't believe me now. You might not like me for the first 2 weeks, but after the first 2 weeks, you will fall in love with me and you will say, I cannot believe that it was this easy to elevate the way I live.
I can totally relate to that. I was told to go off gluten, no sugar, no dairy, and no alcohol, which I don't do alcohol anyways. And it took me a 3 months to do it. And I said to her, I said, I can't do it. And she's like, Shawna, it's meat, fruits, and vegetables. It's not that hard. And that clicked for me.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, I felt the best I'd ever felt in my life.
Yes.
Eating like that. So, a lot of times it just comes down to nutrition, right? I mean, sometimes it's just what we're eating.
Well, nutrition is a massive influence, because if you're eating food, and this is why I will always say, I will not tell people what to eat in generalities, but I will tell in generalities what not to eat. And what not to eat is food-like product. So ultra-processed food should not have the label of food. It is not food. It's not food. It is harmful. So you're saying the meat, the veggies, the fruit, you're talking food. And is your biology going to feel the best it's ever felt when you've actually given it fuel versus toxicity? Yes. Every human will feel better if they choose food. Every human. It's how we're designed. And at the same time, once you do that, you think, wow, I've never felt better. And this is my favorite part when I get clients who are healthy and they just want to feel a little bit better. And they realize that you do the food, you feel a lot better, and then you align it with your biology. And then their minds are blown. They're like, I never knew that this level. They're fitness professionals, right? Going, I'm healthy, but you're just a fun thing that I'm going to add. And then they go, I didn't know how bad I felt because I didn't know how good I could feel.
Yeah. There's even another level.
There's always another level. I'm achieving new levels. Every single year I look back, and like 5 years ago, I would have said, rocking it, feeling the best, can't get better than this. And I'm 5 years in the future going, oh my word, I feel so great. I'm 45. I have no pain anywhere in my body. I wake up, I move, I sauna, I do my vibration plate. I got a little treadmill behind me that I can stand and walk when I'm in long meetings that I'm not running. These are all very little things. I find them fun. And I'm not a person that loved exercising. Let me be clear. I had fitness certifications because if I wasn't teaching the class, I wouldn't show up. I knew that about myself. I hated working out. So I'm like, okay, I'll get certified so I can teach a class because then I'm required to show up, and I show up for the things where I'm supposed to be there. So you don't have to be this person that loves working out and loves biohacking, because you can learn to love how you feel, which makes all these things just super easy and fun.
Yeah. And back to the mindset thing, I just thought, why on earth? Mine was for my brain to reduce inflammation. And I was, well, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't keep up, and once I finally did, it really wasn't a big deal. Like you said, like it really isn't. And especially when you notice the benefits right away.
Yes. Yep. And I think that's probably one of the things that I find to be most perpetuated in society is that lifestyle is hard. I have a doctor, I read his book, and he said on the second day of class, and it was either Stanford or Harvard, I can't remember which one it was. He said the second day of class, we are told patients will not change. They will not do the work. Therefore, push them towards, the prescription or the intervention because they will not do the lifestyle change. So when you take from the perspective of the patient who honors the doctor, they trust the doctor saying, well, you're not going to be able to do it. And so I'm going to give you this instead, because that's how he was trained. Now we have a whole generation of people that feel disempowered in their health autonomy. That's why I have a 3-month program. If you need me to be holding your hand at 3 months and a day, then I didn't do my job, because you can do it. And I know it because people do it every time, because it's not hard. It's just different.
Mm-hmm. And I love the amount of support you provide.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Sometimes people do need that,
Well, and sometimes because it's so holistic, right? My support has we use a video program that they can video, and they will hop on, and I always say, if you wake up and your second toe hurts, I want to know about it, because everything going on is communication. Everything is a clue. I want to know when you're feeling happy. I want to know all these things, because the more clues I have, the faster we get results. And sometimes it's been being up in the middle of the night praying with someone who lost a close family member unexpectedly. It has been walking with someone that's having through a conflict that they're having with a spouse, and being able to say, okay, well, let's back this up. Let's reframe, how is your body feeling? Okay, how is that manifesting in how you're speaking? How is your mindset? When we talk holistic, it's not just biology, because the fun thing about the body, when we break it down from, you have the proteins and the cells and the DNA, and then you get all the way down to the atom, and a subatomic level, the atom is 99.9999999% energy and 0.000000001% particle substance. I don't understand why we can't walk through walls, because so little of us, if you take the amount of us that is actual biology, that is not energy, it fits on the tip of a pin. So that's very, very important biology. Even that pin tip of substance particle that makes up the atom, very important. And yet every thought, feeling, and emotion creates an energetic response in our body. It creates catecholamine differences, neurochemical differences in our mind, and it's all together. So it matters when you're not getting along with your spouse. It's affecting your health. And so I go through all of that with them, because every part of them matters.
Wow. This is brilliant. I love talking to you, and I would love to talk to you all day.
It's fun. I could talk about health all day. My teenagers, they're both in college right now, and they've said from the beginning, Mom, you can make anything about health. And I said, yes, because everything's about health.
How can someone get in touch with you to work with you?
The best way to kind of step into my world, and I like people to listen to how I teach to make sure that it aligns with who they are, is I do a masterclass usually a couple times every few months, and it's called The Supplement Trap. And so you just go to my website, www.luxebioanalytics.com/thetrap. And then you can register for the webinar. You can get a feel of more in depth how I approach health and healing. And then I also give you tools that you can use immediately to elevate your health. And then on the website, if anybody is dealing with an acute issue, or they know this is the direction I want to go, I have the application to work with me right on the website as well.
Okay. And Luxe is Lux.
Lux. Yeah. Just Lux. Yeah.
Okay. Fabulous. Yeah, this is you're so inspirational, and it's so fun to talk to, and it's so educational, and the light goes on. I would like to ask you a couple more questions. What has changed in your life or your business life since you started working with the Radical company that you did not expect?
Yes. Well, there's quite a bit, because I think expectations are just a very interesting topic in general. And I think I had expected to grow my reach and my email list and all of those things, right? That's what you hire business mentorship for, is how to run your business. And I did get that. Don't get me wrong, I did get that, but that didn't turn out to be my favorite part. My favorite part has been learning how to communicate my message in a way that people can understand. Because I was that person that would show up to networking events, get nervous, and start talking about poop and parasites. right? That is not the thing to discuss at a formal dinner. That was my panic mode, was going into parasites and, well, how are your bowel movements? I talk about everything with my clients. I've seen it all, and in my work in medicine, I've heard it all. And so I got out of panic when trying to communicate with a person that might not be understanding what I'm saying. And now I've been taught how to be able to take this life-changing, transformative information and deliver it in a way that the person that needs that, the person needs it. They're looking for it. I couldn't connect with the person looking for me before because I couldn't articulate how the process works. And so that is the most important part of my working with Radical Magic, is learning that ability to connect with the person who needs me and serve them at a level that blows their mind.
Yeah, that's the huge part, is being, confident in sharing your message so
Yes.
that you do connect with the right people. And that's a process. If you're talking to someone considering the Radical Company, what would you tell them about your experience?
I would tell them that that the level you invest in yourself and in your business is the speed at which you're going to get results. And that this is probably the most judicious investment that you can make, because they bend over backwards to give us everything that we need for our success. I would say I almost care more about my clients' health than they do. I feel like at times the Radical Magic group, they care more about our success than we do. And that's the person that you want to invest in, that will get you those quick results.
Yeah, I can say something similar. I didn't come in thinking I was going to do podcasts with the Radical Company, and it's one of my favorite things to do. And I didn't even know it, but they discovered that for me,
Right,
because of my background.
right.
So like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I heard someone say once, if you are like the product, you're in the jar, you can't read the label, right? You need somebody from the outside to read the label. And that's what they do. They come in and they read the label and they say, oh, we see this. Oh, that's brilliant, right? Even doing the master classes, I never did that before. And now I've got so many people in my world because I've had the opportunity to communicate about something I'm passionate about in a way that reaches the person that wants to hear me.
Yeah. All right. Well, Julie Alsaker, what a treat to get to chat with you here today on Radical TV. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.